I have a lot of stuff to start out with before we get to the panelists, so that should give him time to get here. Fran, are we ready? All right. Okay. So, um, so welcome everyone to our VWEC Metaverse Expert Series. Oh, I should probably stand up. That's probably a little more professional. Sorry about that, guys. We're so glad to see you and thank you for joining us today for our very interesting presentation and discussion. For those who are new, our website is in the chat if you want to check that out. And you can find VWEC on many social media channels. After our presentation, we will move to the deck for a little more informal conversation and social time for those who are able to stay. We are so pleased to offer our expert series presentation in both text and chat. Text for all that use voice is shared on our YouTube live stream, and is that the correct URL, Val? Maybe Val can put the make sure that that's correct. So you can find this in the sign in front of the stage as well. So speaking of signs, we would like to know how you found out about our events. Our survey plant is just a quick survey that's a great help to us. So if you can see this kind of over here next to Merrill, there's this plant. If you click on it, you'll get a quick survey, and we'd be really pleased if you could fill that out if you have time. And feel free to send any comments you have. So we would like to also thank you for joining us. Oops, what happened here? Okay, but before we begin, let me give you a little information on the Student Challenge, which is the focus of our panel today. The VWEC Second Life Student Challenge is also known as the Serious Simulations in the Metaverse. It's an annual event that's run here in Second Life. And typically programming challenges, which you've heard of before as known as hackathons, they're really a popular way to quickly create content and applications in our fast-paced world of technology. These events are typically run through academic institutions or high visibility technology companies like Google or Meta. And they usually run between 36 hours and a week, with most being around 36 to 48 continuous hours. The final products of these challenges are usually prototypes that the schools or companies can use as proof of concept, which may be taken up for fleshing out later on. Prizes for best student exhibits are based on a rubric that is available at the start of the challenge. And these prizes consists of yearly premium membership for instructors, as well as over $100 in lindens. VWEC has sponsored such a challenge since the fall of 2022, but instead of being a continuous number of hours, it runs for almost 3 months. So what this does is it allows participants who are new to Second Life, for example, enough time to gain proficiency with the platform interface, building and scripting. The annual challenge itself is centered around educational institutions that maintain a presence in Second Life. They can either open a space on their regions for students to build an educational experience, or they can use that area that the Linden Labs has given VWEC for the purpose of allowing the students to build their experiences. It's somewhat open-ended to support any educational content as long as it addresses the judging criteria. So the next challenge will start February 25th of 2025, and it will continue until April 26th. On February 15, there will be a kickoff event for instructors where the building site will be toured and questions will be addressed. On April 26th, there will be an in-world event where awards are given out. Now, the goal for the challenge is that students have a supportive community to use a virtual world to create a build while they find deeper understanding of the content they are learning. Each institution is encouraged to form teams of students, each of which will design and implement the educational experience for the competition. We provide opportunities for learning by student orientation and 2 courses taught by Builders Brewery on our Second Life Challenge region. The prizes include yearly premium membership for instructors, as well as Linden's. Okay, so in addition, we also have lots of resources available for students that include a list of good examples of educational builds around Second Life. And we encourage students and instructors who are new to visit the examples of previously winning student builds. So the upcoming challenge will be the third one. And if you want to go look at past student challenges, we have a video of them at this URL. So today we have invited several instructors who have participated in the previous challenges so they can tell you about their experiences, what worked, what didn't work, and their best practices and their main takeaways that they have learned from building and integrating their curriculum into the challenge. Once all of the instructors have presented their materials, we will open up the discussion for questions from the audience. One final announcement is that Marcella Mosswood was unable to join us today. She has had a couple of high school teams actually compete in the challenge, and if you would like to look at the current set of student exhibits, they're just over the bridge behind me. So and the very first exhibit over there was done by her students. So our first panelist is Bethany Winslow. Bethany Winslow, and she's known as Bethany the virtual version in Second Life, is the director of online learning for the school information at San Jose State University. She works with Vicara, the community virtual library, and also colleagues at other institutions because of her passion for using virtual worlds for collaboration and authentic learning. So go ahead and take it away, Beth.
Okay, thank you very much for that nice introduction, Maria. I appreciate it. I'm really delighted to be here today and share my thoughts on integrating curriculum with a Second Life Student Challenge. 2 of our students from the iSchool designed and built educational exhibits in December of last year that are pictured on this slide. I didn't have anybody for the spring semester this year, but that was enabled me to be a judge instead. So while we're here to talk about how to integrate this challenge into our curriculum, the students I work with are a little different, but I'm still going to share some of our key takeaways. And the first point I wanted to make is about the importance of the role of intrinsic motivation and creativity. I found that intrinsic motivation is really critical for the success in virtual spaces, and not just with Second Life, because we also work in other environments. But our graduate students, our programs are all on 100% online, and our graduates range widely in age and background, from students in their early 20s to much older in their 40s or in their 50s even. And many of you probably already know this, but this is something that I've really come to find, and that's that the students who really take to working in world tend to be naturally curious, creative, and self-directed. And this kind of openness is particularly important when you're working in a sandbox environment like Second Life. It's a blank canvas, and while it encourages out of the box thinking, which is of course an invaluable skill for any discipline, I was really inspired to see this on full display in that last challenge when I was a judge. And I remember being really impressed by for example, specifically the photosynthesis garden and that was the youngest students, I believe, from Indonesia. And I'm also thinking about a VR game I play called Planet Zoo, where it blends an interest in biology and planning and resource management into this holistic experience. And in the game, you're designing and building a zoo for animals, but you have to take into consideration all sorts of realistic constraints about their habitat needs and who can live with who and how many and what gender and whatnot. So with virtual worlds and game engines, especially with young people growing up gaming, exhibits like what we have in the challenge can be really exhilarating in terms of the possibilities of, offering new ways of engaging with complex subjects and subject matter. But that kind of freedom, I have seen, it can also be a little overwhelming without clear guidance. And so my second point that I want to make in this, what the takeaways or the learning was in this, is that structure and constraints are just as important as providing freedom. And my students, the two of them that were part of this, they submitted feedback to me after the student challenge, and I've integrated their points as well with this little talk. While they appreciated having a lot of creative space within the confines of the rubric, they also felt a little bit lost at times in terms of what they should do. For example, one of them mentioned specifically she thought that if there were more examples of past winning exhibits, it would have helped her understand how to align her work with the challenge criteria. Now, of course, we were partaking in the very first student challenge, so that wasn't even a possibility, but that's a good point. And I think that's worth keeping in mind. We know that concrete examples of exemplary work helps our students. Um, and both of my students were also not brand new to building in Second Life. And I know at least one of them did attend several of the Builders Brewery sessions, which offer that much needed scaffolding and the time for as far as learning how to build. But even just in terms of design, I think the scale of our own imaginations can be intimidating, right? So striking a balance between encouraging creativity but also giving a clear sense of direction is really important. And it's kind of like setting up a sandbox but also offering a few sandcastles to start with. And in this regard, it was probably me who was lacking as the faculty advisor, because I was very hands off, letting them do whatever they wanted. And that's partly because they're graduate students, but it's also partially because their participation is actually not part of any coursework at the iSchool. So the students who come my way are interested in exploring virtual worlds and VR. And information sciences and libraries and that sort of thing, but they're doing this on their own in the same way that I am, as a form of productive tinkering, as a professional learning hobby. So I didn't require them to work as a team either. They each worked independently on their own, and that too might not have been ideal in some ways. And it was some younger students. I would absolutely, I think, feel more strongly that they should collaborate rather than work independently. Um, and that brings me to a related point, and that is that I think it's important to come to terms with the fact that not everyone thrives in these environments. And I have to say to you guys, this is a hard lesson for me. I came in here more seriously as an instructional designer about 7 years ago. And I really I naively thought my enthusiasm would be enough to pull in more faculty and students. And, some of you who've been around doing this a lot longer than me probably can relate to that. But I have come to the conclusion it seems pretty binary for me, that people either embrace the possibilities and go down the rabbit hole with glee, and then other people just, they feel overwhelmed no matter what support you can provide, and they're sort of turned off. I just think that this challenge should be an optional component of coursework rather than a requirement. And I do have one other point that one of my students suggested. She said participants should be asked to define their target audience for their projects as part of the criteria. And I hadn't noticed that as missing, but I think that too is a good point, that the judges could better evaluate how well the projects meet intended goals if that small tweak was made in guiding the students' efforts. And so to wrap it up, my takeaway is that it's all about balancing creativity with structure, with leveraging that intrinsic motivation, and accepting the reality that this kind of technology just isn't everyone's cup of tea. Um, but for those who are up for the challenge, it can be a transformative learning experience. And so thanks for having me here. And I really look forward to the next event, and any questions I hope I can answer about their work. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Bethany. Um, So our next one, our second panelist is Lucia Morales and Siriam Solas in Second Life, who holds a PhD in economics and is an educator, academic innovator, and active researcher in the School of Accounting, Economics, and Finance at Technical University Dublin in Ireland and the European University of Technology. So go ahead, Lucia. I'm going to go ahead and change the slide for you. Are you speaking?
Hello? Hello?
There we go. We can hear you.
Hi. Sorry, I just was speaking to myself. So, thank you so much for having me. Sorry for the sound issue. Um, so I just started saying that I share most of the comments and points like Bethany have provided on her presentation, especially in terms of how the student challenge became kind of rejection by some students and others embrace it. So a little bit the background in terms of the work that I did in the space was with my PhD students. So there was a team of about 6 students that I invited to participate. And from those students, only 2 show interest in terms of developing an exhibit and trying to connect and trying to work with other students. So we were within an environment that we have a lot of support from instructors, and in particular, we were working closely in terms of the building process with one of our colleagues that I think is sitting at the back of the room, so his side arm. So he coached us during the whole process, and in particular, it was interesting that I took the role of the student because I wanted to learn what are the challenges that they face, how the experience was. The difference between me and my students is that I work in my own exhibit and I didn't have to interact with other people, while my students were part of a group. So the exhibit that you see at the back that is kind of polluting everything, that's the one that I created. So challenges that I faced as a student was trying to understand what was the purpose of the assignment, what was the kind of basic techniques in order to build. And as Bethany has indicated, at the beginning it was overwhelming because I didn't know, okay, how to start, how to do. And what it was critical in that process was the coaching that I received, because it guided me when I needed. It was very supportive and I have direction. So my learning was that without that component, you can get lost very, very quickly. And that was something that then I was observing in my doctoral students, because we were kind of looking at them, they were collaborating with groups, and at the same time I was trying to support them. And again, my coach was supporting them as well, but the problem was that they were not able to manage conflict between the groups. And then we have 4 students that detach from the whole process because I think it was technical issues in terms of them being able to access. There were problems as well in terms of them understanding how to develop, connect, and build. And then we have the creativity issues. So if you want to develop something and you don't have that clarity, yes, you can get lost very, very quickly. So that were kind of the challenges. The positive is you have no limits. And comments that I got from some students as well was, well, this is a different dimension to learning. It's not the traditional approach. It's not boring anymore. We have freedom in terms of what to do. And myself, as a learner and as an instructor, I saw that there is a lot of potential in terms of bringing your own ideas and concepts to life. And economics will be kind of a dry type of subject where you can say, well, how can we bring those concepts within a virtual environment, and in which way can we collaborate with other people, other disciplines? Because one challenge I face is the silo type of approach, and by observing my students collaborating and trying to figure it out how to kind of guide themselves through the process and interact with younger students, they gain a lot of expertise because they were able to offer their own views. They are also teachers, and it was interesting to see how they grow within the whole process. So for me, it was, you have a different role when you have undergrad students, you have a different role when you have postgrad students, you have a different role when you have research students. And again, the potential that the environment offer, I think is immense. And I think that's more or less my experience. I'm looking forward to the next challenge and to see how can I integrate it as part again of doctoral education, but master's education in particular, because those students look at the world in a different way. They are more kind of money oriented, market oriented, and what I'm trying to see is like how the economy within the metaverse can support as well their learning. And the critical learning for me was again the coaching. You really need to have support when you start, because otherwise you can get lost and frustrated really easily. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lucia. That's a great insight. So our next speaker, we're going to go a little bit out of sequence here because we're waiting on one more person. So instead, we're going to hear from our next panelist, who is Alexandria Risuvia. And I know I butchered that. Also known as Sandrika Bruno in Second Life. She's on the faculty of Mass Media Communication, University of Essa Cyril and Methodius in Trinana, Slovakia. She's had 2 teams in the fall student challenge and both won top prizes. Take it away, Sandrika.
So thank you very much for having me. I know that, excuse my English, it's a foreign language for me. So my name is Alexandra Risoliova, and I am from the University of San Cyril and Methodius in Trnava. And our faculty is aiming mass media communication. In particular, our students that were participating in Student Challenge are students that are a part of the digital games study program, so they are linked to gaming. And these students are 4th year students, so it's their first year in master's degree, and I expect them to have certain knowledge and certain skill set that they come to like within my class. So the idea for the subject that they are, this subject is not mandatory for them, it's optional, and they have it in description that the idea of this subject is to create certain simulations in Second Life, so it's something they agree to do. So this whole subject that consists of 2 terms, one is summer term and the other is winter term. We focus on working and doing simulations, either mainly educative ones in Second Life, and it's a small group. The one that participated in the very first student challenge consisted of 11 students. They were split into 2 teams, and one of the students was located in Czech Republic, so he was being with us in class only virtually. The rest was meeting in the classroom. As you can see, we have this Red Bull Gaming Hub, which is like one of the 2 hubs in the world. Another one is in Canada. And our students are used to having these kind of challenges, not quite like the one like this hackathon, but they are used to having game jam challenges where they have to create game prototypes, but in Unreal Engine within 48 hours. So this wasn't something they wouldn't be familiar with, but they weren't really familiar with the environment. So that's what was new to them. And I could spot one issue when we were doing this challenge last year or the fall year, and that's exactly what Maria was saying at the beginning, that there is this time for them to learn the environment. So that's why they needed, more time to get to know, since they are gamers, so they know games, but they still needed to know how to build here and how to work with and interact and how to script. They were, I must say that every single one of them loved this student challenge, and they were really supporting each other. And the idea for my class or for this subject isn't really about learning some new skills. It's more about enhancing the soft skills or the 21st century skills that are set by European Union. And that's the teamwork, the cooperation, communication, and they were split into 2 teams based on their skill set. So each group had someone who was linked to 3D, someone who was linked to sound effects, someone who was linked to programming. So it was, everyone had the same base of skill set in the group, and that's why they were not having any issues that one group would have, like more advanced techniques than the other. My criteria, or I was very strict with them because I wanted them to create literally everything that was within, even though it probably wasn't necessary, but they had to really create something their own without any support of already existing materials that are in here. And that's because I wanted them to really like look into it and dive into it. And another thing that we used in class, and I wanted them to find some, not relationship, but some connection to, is AI. And I know that students that were taking those classes by the Builders Brewery, pretty much all of them included them. With the programming, it wasn't enough for them. So they were working also with ChatGPT to write the scripts, and that's how they managed to, create something that was more complex. And I'm really happy that they got to win the first and the second prize. To be honest, they weren't really doing it for, well, it was a challenge for them that they wanted to win, but they didn't really do it for the prize. That wasn't their aim. What was the thing that they really appreciated was the certificate, because that's something that they can put into their CVs. And also this output of this challenge is something that they presented and they put into their portfolios. So it's something that they can show like in their future works that they worked on something like this. And with the prize, what I found really nice is, even though, like they won the first and the second prize, they decided to connect the prizes. And since it was during the Christmas time, they got to Christmas markets together and had some really quality time. So that was something that they really enjoyed. And I'm also planning to participate with my upcoming classes or upcoming teams in the Spring Challenge. So we'll be there again with 2 or 3 teams. So yeah, there weren't really that many issues that we would work on or that we would have experience, but that's maybe because I'm also quite active in Second Life, so I think that I didn't really have to guide them that much. I did consult with them. We did have weekly meetings, so we were in touch. And I was in their social media groups where we were, discussing and brainstorming what would fit the best. And yeah, I was just happy with their results, and they are still, they are, even to this day, I'm still teaching them, and they are in next year. They are still reminding the student challenge as a great experience, and it was also quite popular within our social media, like real life social media faculties. So they pretty much promoted it on that level as well, and then other students were interested in like what they did, and maybe that's why more students signed up for this year. So yeah, I have just the best experience with the students challenge. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great to hear. I'm really glad that you are continuing to participate, because we have so much fun. So our last panelist is Murat Gulmez, and normally Magwa Thirak in Second Life, but today cleverly disguised as Ginger. He is an associate professor of marketing at Çağ University in Turkey. He has been a resident of Second Life since 2006, almost since the very beginning. He started adopting Second Life into his teaching activities, and he has been cooperating with other international faculty and staff for teaching in virtual worlds. They have delivered various courses either only for Çağ students or in collaboration with other European universities for the last couple of years. So go ahead, Murat.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, and please let me know when you want me to change the slide.
Okay, thank you, Marie. Thank you for the opportunity. I had some technical issues with my account, so Magwa could not log in. I thought it was the computers first, but it's not the computer or the viewer, it was the account itself. So I asked my assistant to borrow his avatar and disguise as himself and come here today as Ginger. So sorry, I missed the first part of this panel. But then the glad thing is that I'm here right now. For me, this virtual worlds education was kind of a patient, and I managed to do that, as Marie stated. And last year, we heard that there was a project called Student Challenge, and me, myself, and Joan O'Connor from TU Dublin was teaching a joint course, and we decided that we would integrate that student challenge as part of our course itself. It's a full-term course, and we integrated the student challenge as part of our final project for the students. So we were usually putting the students into teams before the student challenge, and we were giving them an assignment as the final project. They were creating something, making a presentation about a topic that we assigned them, or so on. But then last year, when we integrated student challenge, we applied the student challenge as a block and give them as an assignment, as the final assignment. And the students work during the semesters for this challenge. And I think it was a success, and we got very positive feedback from our students. Could you please change the slide, Marie, so that we can see some of those builds that the student made, and as well as some real life pictures afterwards. The good thing was it was allowing the students practically build something, and we were getting some more support from the other colleagues in Second Life, such as the Builders Brewery was teaching them how to build, and we were also having the judges from the student challenge team, the VWEC team, and we got Gentle Heron, for example, teaching them how to apply accessibility in a build in Second Life, and why should we think about accessibility even in virtual worlds in our projects. So they learn about those things and they applied. They did really good job working as a team. That was one thing. The other thing is they were working in international virtual teams, which was already designed that way in our course because it's a joint course. So students from Ireland and students from Turkey, they came together and then they worked together, which was a fruitful experience for the students as well as us. And we had even more the American colleagues from the VWEC supporting, and Builders Brewery from USA as well, again supporting the students throughout the semester, as well as we have some colleagues already integrated in our courses. John O'Connor himself, myself, Sidearm Madonna, and Gentle Heron, Delia Lake during the semesters. And so they have seen a lot of builds and sample of builds in different lands and different sims in Second Life, even before the student challenge itself. So that was a good start for them during the course, and it was a good experience overall. Could you change the slides again, Marie? Thank you. Those are Ed. One other thing that we did was it's not only building anything. We gave them kind of a framework to work with this student challenge final project. And what we do is we were already integrating the sustainable development goals in our course. So we gave them the sustainable development goals as the framework for their project. So they have to do a build. Not only that, they have to do a build related to sustainable development goals of the UN, which is a very important topic that we consider that we should integrate in any possible college courses that we're delivering. That is one of the things that we really care about at the moment at our university, as well as the TUD Dublin and partnerships that we do. So that is why you see all those quality education number 4 here on the left side, or the sustainable development goals sign, and that they are related to certain sustainable development goals, all those builds that you see. Okay, can we switch the slide again, please? And this is the ceremony, and that is also nicely done by the VWEC, as well as a nice setting. And there were other people other than our students when they were taking their prizes and awards during the ceremony. It gives them pleasure and satisfaction in a very rich way, I believe. And it is they feel that that they achieve something more tangible in this way, and that is very nice motivation for the students, I believe. And after this slide, we have the real life ceremony. That's what we did in the real life. We announced the winning teams or the award winner students on our website in real life, as well as our rector and vice chancellor are giving the awards to the students in these pictures, and we take them to the rector's office, and they were honored and they were recognized since they did something very to be proud of, and something they achieved something in an international contest. That was also another thing to motivate the students, and I think that worked as well positively. Overall, my takeaway from this student challenge is we like to continue the student challenge in the next term. Every term we deliver this course. This term we don't have student challenge. We deliver it without it. We have other ways of doing projects with the students, but then next term it's going to be the student challenge again, so we will integrate it again. And each time we do that, and we have done it I think 2 times up until now, we're learning from it. So we are learning and we're trying to make it better each time, along with the VWEC team. They are also asking us our feedback after the student challenge itself. So we will hope to continue to collaborate with them in this sense. And the other takeaway for us is, I think it's a good platform, SL, for college students, and we could do a lot of good job with the students. They are building, they are integrating with international other students, as well as the colleagues from all over the world. It provides us a lot of different opportunities that we could not do it otherwise in real life that easily, and that in that ease. So the other thing that I could mention is we are also working with, for example, my colleague here, I see Lucia, and we have a project. It's called Sustainable Library, Virtual Sustainable Library Project. Also, Sidearm Madonna and Librarian is helping us in this project. And with this project, we are aiming, or we're working with the K-12 students, because our university has it's part of an education foundation, and this foundation also has even from the primary school to the high school and K-12 part as well. And we integrated this project with them. We are trying to do something with them, but there is a barrier in Second Life. We could not bring them over here because their age is not that they're not old enough to log into the Second Life yet. So we are using another platform called Mind Test. Val is helping us to get to there, and we're working towards that. So I'm not sure. I'm just saying that to VWEC. Maybe we could even do something with the lower age students, but not in the Second Life. Maybe in other platforms similar to Student Challenge. So thank you very much for hosting me today, and as well as for helping us to make this Student Challenge happen during the term. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Murat, and thank you so much for sharing, for you all for sharing with us today. So now what we'd like to do is open it up to discussion and take questions from the audience. Feel free to ask questions in either local chat or in voice. And Bethany says, congratulations to my fellow panelists. I was really impressed with all of you, what all you did with your students. All the builds are really inspirational. And yes, to what Murat was saying about using other platforms too. We're all about exploding across the metaverse. So Buffy has a question for any of the panelists. Do you find that students want to stay and continue in SL, or do they lose interest?
I'll speak up. This is Bethany. I'll just say that for the students that find their way to me, they love Second Life, but they also love other environments too. So it's, but I don't have a ton of students, so it's not like I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that, but I find it's very binary that people who discover this or come this way, they love it and they stay. And the people who are not inclined to do this are not going to stick around, or they like other spaces as well. And then there's other stuff going on in other spaces. So that's it.
Lucia here. In my case, it is similar. The students that like it want to stay, but it's basically as new learners, they need a bit of a guideline. The ones that just didn't like it, they just don't even talk about it.
My students, they don't really stay afterwards, so it's just 2 semesters that they are here. But this student challenge, I'm not sure if you recall, but I had one particular student who fell in love with Second Life, and he's still coming to this day. So he's just one example of those that remain, but the rest stopped using SL.
Margot here, and yeah, it's similar to Sandrika. Most of the students, they don't hang out after the class is finished, but some does, and when they do, some of them are hooked up here. Like, I mean, one of them is, for example, in this picture on the bottom, there is one girl particularly with the red hat on the behind, Merino, her avatar's name. She's hooked up with this, and she wants to even have a career related to what she learned here. Like, I mean, either the 3D design or building. She loves these kind of stuff. So now we're also trying to help her to get to do another project with us even after she graduated. And we were designing a project that she could be part of as a researcher or as a builder, you know, helping us to do something here in Second Life. So, you know, when they do like to stay or when they are interested in, they are really into it most of the time. But not many of them could do that. But another thing is, like, I mean, the skills that they learn here is they could use that in other platforms, and maybe they're in other platforms that we don't see them. So that's another thing.
Yeah, Chandra said the ones that stayed, was it a group or activity that encouraged them to stay? There are so many social activities that might help play a part in their decision.
I think in a way both. I mean, I've seen some students, they kind of had home here also. They built a home here. They were integrating with, you know, the citizens of the Second Life as well at the same time. And usually those are the ones who stay around as well. But I have a lot of other students that I didn't see them at all. Again, maybe they come with other avatars, alts, you know, that I don't know. Since the class is finished, they do other things, maybe, I don't know. So that's also something to find out.
So I just wanted to interject something really quick here. The whole reason I'm in Second Life is due to a class I took in Second Life. And I'll tell you what made the difference for me is having opportunities beyond the class to help out. So as part of Vicara, for example, there's like student groups, and within those students groups, we don't just meet, but we have like events that we put on, or we have like little building opportunities, things like that. And I think that was the one thing that got me hooked into staying here.
And I'll just dovetail onto what you were saying, Marie, because Marie she did her MLS in the iSchool, the San Jose State's iSchools program. So when she's talking about Second Life, it was at the iSchool. And we're doing other stuff with students now, but not in Second Life. We're using browser-based VR because it's a little easier to kind of bring people into that. They don't have to download anything and whatnot. And Marie and I have always hoped that it would be sort of a gateway drug that would help people to see the power of virtual environments. And we're using Frame VR and Spatial right now. And students are like blown away and kind of in love with it. And we're kind of hoping that, if you get really into that, then you need more robust things. So, going to the step of, learning how to build in Unity, that's a little bit more advanced. That's appropriate for the people who teach students who are game developers and that sort of thing. I hope it brings other people back to Second Life. I hope we see a renaissance, but we'll see.
So Sidon has a question for Lucia. As a relative newcomer to teaching within Second Life, what factor leads you to continue versus other electronic media?
Thank you, Said, for the question. It's basically what I kind of wrote on the response below. What it keep me kind of, I want to stay because there is a lot of support. So when I joined, it was a long time that I wanted to do something in terms of virtual reality, but I didn't know how. And my area of work is not really into this space. It's very technical. It's very supported by specific software, so you don't really have time in terms of exploring maybe additional ways to teach because the content is quite dry. And when I started, I have 2 attempts, I would say, where I saw potential, but I didn't know, what can I do? How can I do? And what it was critical for me was that sharing. So site was key in terms of keeping me around, because if I didn't learn how to start with the process, then I move very quickly. So if I stay, I learn more, then I explore more. So at the moment, my experiences, I'm sitting on John O'Connor class to learn more, to see how he's kind of engaging with the students, so that I get a better view on how I can do it. And it's again that fact, like the sharing, the giving time to the newcomers to explain, well, you do this because this way, the liberty as well, the freedom to move, to ask questions. It is a very different environment. So right now I'm not exploring any other media because I don't have time, and I need to learn a little bit more on how to integrate virtual reality within my working context. I hope I answer your question. Site?
Okay. It's really funny because people actually asked some of the questions that I wanted to ask. So one of the things that I'm wondering from you guys is, did you find that the length of the challenge, which is almost 3 months long, is it too long? Is it too short? Is it in the Goldilocks just right zone? And I'm talking here about like for your ability to integrate it into your curriculum. And that's for all of you guys.
I can start. So the very first challenge that took place in fall, that one was quite a challenge for me as well, since the students were new to the platform. But I really like the fact that it moved to spring, so they will have the first introductory course during their winter semester, and then it's perfectly aligned with our semester, which starts the first week of February. So they will get to know each other and they'll start to brainstorm. Then the challenge starts and it's pretty much running till the end of their semester. So in my case, it's just perfect.
For us, I think the problem was not the length of the student challenge or the design of it, but it was the matching our curriculum, our calendar with the student challenge calendar was tough because there are some sessions on Saturdays the students do not enjoy that much, honestly. But then there is also other things that the it's always a problem with us even without the student challenge, because the TU Dublin's calendar, our calendar, and the student challenge calendar should match. So that is always a challenge. But we always find a way to go around it, because I mean, either if I'm flexible at that term, I do change things accordingly so I fit to the John's calendar, or sometimes he does sacrifices and he's fitting certain things to our calendar, so we find the common ground. And this term, even without the student challenge, we have the same kind of problems, and we're dealing it, and I think we're used to that by now, so it's okay, I think.
That brings up a good point. Do you think, especially for international universities, do you think it would be easier if we were to schedule some of the learning stuff, the Saturday stuff, on Friday morning instead? Because that would be your Friday afternoon or your Friday evening. I mean, do you still have the same problem with students not wanting to show up because they want to go out?
Yeah, I mean, Friday maybe not still the best option, but yeah, I mean, it's even better than the Saturday, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, the thing is, for example, my course this term is on Friday and Friday afternoons. So they join the course, so it's their course anyway.
My students were, sorry.
Go ahead, please. Sorry.
That my students were split into two groups, and they were assigned to go to those Saturday sessions. It was voluntary, but at least two of the team members had to show up. For me, it doesn't matter who it was, but there were always at least two representatives. And if they weren't, I would deduct points for their class attendance. So it was just a must for them.
In my case, if I may, the main challenge for me at the moment, I think, for me, it's not enough to integrate every aspect in one semester. For me, the way that I'm looking at it is over 2 semesters, because I teach students in kind of subjects that move up in terms of level, and I see the work to be done in the student challenge required, from my perspective, a first semester to give them content to get them familiar with the environment, and then a second semester where they get more specific into building the exhibits. But they need to do early preparation on that semester 1, and semester 2, when they have clarity, move on with the project and focus on it. Because as a student, I felt that it was quite a lot that I have to cover, while understanding what I want to say, how I want to say it, what is the message I want to communicate, and then building that at the same time. So I spend like huge amount of time trying to bring those together, and I think, yeah, it needs a more structured kind of learning teaching process if I want to integrate it as part of what my students do.
Thank you. Well, believe it or not, it's already top of the hour. I want to thanks to everyone who came today, and just a reminder that you should be able to find the recording of this presentation on the VWEC channel, which I've put into the chat. Please know that we welcome new volunteers to help VWEC, which is open to anyone interested in teaching and learning in virtual worlds. And if you are interested in working at our info center, contact Sue Moon Magic or Val Librarian Greg. Our next expert series will be on October 25th, when Alexander Y., who is the founder of Equimake, will present on his new web-based collaborative platform that is currently being used by educators. To see all VWEC events, please check out the VWEC Plaza events calendar, also in the chat and the YouTube channel, and join us on social media at all these different social media URLs. So now, while we are formally ending the panel session, we can now go over to the happy hour site and continue the conversation for those who still want to. And again, a nice round of applause for our panels. Thank you.